We're rapidly approaching the 4th week of a new anime season, but thankfully I'm also fast approaching the end of my to-do list of reviews. It's not the watching that takes the time, it's the trying to come up with interesting things to say about some shows. There's only so many ways one can say how badly Dynamic Chord sucks, after all. But what did I think of today's hopeful awesome foursome? Thank you again for joining me for 2017 Autumn Anime Preview, from a different perspective. Anime isn't everything in my life. I do have other interests outside of Japanese cartoons. Video games is an obvious one, but I feel like the two go hand in hand. My other love is motorsport, and when I can combine the two of my passions into one, I'm a very happy fudds. And that's definitely the case at first glance of Two Car, an anime about girls who go racing on motorcycle sidecar racing. Now, I'm not as familiar with racing bikes than I am on cars, and I'm even less familiar when it comes to sidecar racing, but heck, it's a decent looking motorsports anime that isn't street racing. They don't come along every day. Two Car takes us straight onto the on-track action, with a presentation of an exhibition race, an effort to introduce us to a cast of racers we'll be following throughout the next few months. And immediately I'm confronted by two cute girls doing commentary. Yep, this is going to be Saki but for bikes, isn't it? Not that that is particularly a bad thing. I like Saki, and I like bikes. And so we're introduced to the Miyakojima Tourist Trophy. We're introduced to pairings as well, with a Kansei Ben team, complete with now traditional accent jokes. There's a handsome couple, think Haruka and Michiru from Sailor Moon, just on a sidecar bike, and you got their number, 44 if in case you're interested. Next up we have a Gothic Lolita pair. There's something to be said about Gothic lollies stripping down to their racing levers. There's also a Princesses of Mie. They appear to be rich girls at first glance. There's a sadistic and masochistic pair. They're sure to be a lot of fun, and is inevitable in a series where girls are paired up. We have a pair of twins. Perfect unison. Finally, our lead pair of girls, driving bike number 77, we have Yuri and Megumi. If a number of girls is to be believed, and I'm sure we're sure to have a whole lot of Yuri subtext in this show. Heck, even Yuri and Megumi's mechanic of a school report is a pair of twosome. Now the introductions are done, what about the series itself? There's not really much to tell from the first episode. We have a race, interrupted by introducing us to a main pair of girls. A pair that are so alike they argue more than you'd think possible. I say like-minded people repel each other, but this pair is definitely that case. We also meet their inspiration, the previous coach in charge of a bike club, and learn that he's left them to go chase his dream, competing in the Isle of Man TT, one of the classic and most famous bike races there is. Watching the first episode, it really feels like all they're doing is introducing us to the characters and the concept of racing sidecars, which is a very physical sport. The driver controls where the bike goes, but the passenger isn't just dead weight. They position their body on the bike and the rider in order to move the centre of mass of a bike for each oncoming part of the track. Because the bike has such a fluid centre of mass, it's able to take corners that it wouldn't normally take without slowing down dramatically. And for the straights, the passenger is able to tuck down and streamline the bike to reduce air resistance. There are a whole lot of in-jokes for fans of motorsport hidden beneath the surface of Two Car, which leads me to believe it would be a good anime for a sport, but what about off-track? Will it live up to similar shows, or will it find itself beached in the gravel trap of obscurity? I'm actually going to give this one a fair crack of a whip, and if you want to see it as well, you can find it over at Crunchyroll. As I'm sure you know if you've been watching me since I started these previews last year, I like cute. But cuteness can come in many forms, from an adorable slice of life to a silly hijinks of comedy. No cute show has captured both of these in recent years, then is The Order of Rabbit, the adorable show set in a cute cafe, and as such so many copycat influenced shows have sprung up hoping to bring their own type of cute to a menu. This season's cute cafe show is brought to us by Blend.S, a show based around a themed cafe where the waitresses all have a different trait. Not with this original goal of our lead girl Maker Sakunomiya, a sweet girl who is lovely, but whenever she smiles, she looks downright sadistic and evil. She initially goes out job hunting in order to find a part-time job, but given her unique looks, she is not very successful. Thankfully, the manager of a cafe, which is called Style, sees her looking at a reflection in the window and is entranced by her sadistic look. Perfect to fulfill the sadism slot at his cafe. Once she joins the cafe, we meet the staff. Yep, episode 1 is very much an introduction to a main group of characters, but introducing us to them with a main character in a new location, in this case, a new job, is a natural way to do it, so it doesn't seem forced. And it also gives me an excuse to introduce him as well. We've already mentioned him, but the manager of a cafe is a guy called Dino. He's a nice enough guy, a bit obsessive, and more than a little weird, but he runs a decent cafe and is good at his job. The tsundere role in the cafe is filled up by the blonde twin-tailed girl, Kaho. Looking at her, she's an obvious choice for a tsundere, but she's actually a really nice and easy to approach girl, not a tsundere at all. She's also a huge gamer. She finds it hard to split work and pleasure, and when she sees some guys playing Monster Hunter Clone, she wants to jump in and go completely crazy with them, but she has to hold back and as such, looks even more tsundere. We also have a real cutie little sister type character, the most adorable little sister you ever met. Except, it's the Order of Rabbit. But, yeah. But she's actually not a little sister at all. She's actually a college student. Several years older than the other girls. Really, this is not only a themed cafe, it has girls who are in roles away from what they actually like, and that's a lot of where the comedy comes from. There's not a whole lot to say about the first episode. I enjoyed it as it was a cute comedy, and the comedy worked for me. And you can find it out if it works for you as well at Crunchyroll. Every season has one. An adaptation that has more hype around it than any other. We've seen them in the past, shows that top almost every list of most anticipated shows, be they sequels to highly regarded shows, or shows hoping to capture some of the magic of a new audience. You can normally spot them a mile off given the amount of column inches and screen time I get in previews. While some shows don't deserve a hype, one that really does deserve it is the ancient Magus Bride. Now, this isn't the first time this particular series has graced our streamwaves, as Crunchyroll have streamed the 3-episode OVA prequel throughout this year. Not when I've really watched much of it. Not because I'm not interested in the show, to the contrary, it's because I am interested in it. I've actually read the first volume of Magus Bride when it was first released, and after seeing it mentioned on NHK World's Imagination show, I was even more hyped for it. But because of that, when I started watching the first OVA, I felt slightly confused to find that it was a prequel which jumps in mid-story. It assumes a lot of knowledge of the world, but the same way gives you a different view than I'm used to. I wasn't impressed. But when I found out there was a proper by-the-book anime planned for this autumn, I was very happy. I could finally see the start of the story, and a meeting of Chisei and Elias. And on that note, welcome to London. I feel like I've been saying that a whole lot recently, despite having only visited the capital a handful of times myself. But here in London, there's an auction selling all manner of beings, beasts and more. With lots like caged animals, and her heroine Chisei is no exception. She's being sold as an extremely rare specimen, so rare she finally gets sold for £5 million to a mysterious tall man with an animal skull head. We learned through the gossiping buyers that she's something called a sleigh beggy, and Chisei has been bought by a very powerful Magus, Elias Ainsworth. Unlike what you would expect looking at him, he's a gentle soul and only seems to want the best for Chisei, and so the two meet. When we're teleported to Elias's home, we find ourselves at an idyllic English country house, and Elias informs her that he has bought her in order to make her his apprentice. And later on we learn, his wife. The world we're thrust into with Ancient Magus Bride is a bright and colourful world, with mysteries around every corner. From playful harpy girls to a doll-like maid, the world never feels empty or devoid of life. In fact, my only complaint was a strange feast prepared for Chisei on her first night. A feast, if you will, of sandwiches, fish and chips, beef Wellington, shepherd's pie, and a pot of tea. Sure, they're all good British foods, but they're not exactly all part of the same meal, are they now? Now I know from reading just a single volume of manga, this show would need to be very disappointing to be worth avoiding, and having watched just one episode, it's clear that it exceeds all expectations. It's a beautiful world presented, and it's a beautiful take of a magical and wonderful world. You really need to see it to believe it, and you can do so over at Crunchyroll. Series about otaku culture have always had a place for certain subjects of fandom, in the same way that writers of mystery stories often appear in mystery stories. Some fandoms just love playing to their own fanbase, and filling the otaku culture slot this season comes Anime-Gataris. It's so fit for a role it actually has anime in the title, and so we meet our energetic lead girl. She's so cheerful and energetic, I can't help but feel she should be running to school with a piece of bread in her mouth. But it's not like Minoa is particularly into anime from the start. In fact, she's a relatively blank slate. Cheerful, cute, but ultimately without much personality, except from the above. It's in the first episode where the two supporting cast members, one in particular, shine through. And we're led to believe there'll be developments for Minoa in the future as well, as she finds her own niche in the marketplace. The first obvious otaku girl we come across is a quiet girl with glasses at the back of a class, a book in hand, reading quietly. Obviously Minoa greets her cheerfully and inquires what she's reading. Why wouldn't she? She's a normal girl after all, there's nothing weird about this. It turns out the girl, Miko, is reading a new light novel series. A search and report on the irresponsible and depressing chronicles of me and a certain eccentric childhood friend. The title sounds ridiculous, but when you have real light novels with names like Do You Like Your Mum? Her normal attack is 2 attacks at full power, and What do you do at the end of the world? Are you busy? Will you save us? When you realise that it's more than just a little meta. Well, that last one sounds familiar from somewhere else. We don't get much more from Mika this episode, but it's clear she'll return later on in the series, if only because she has a prominent place in the opening. We're also introduced to a beautiful princess of the school, Arisu, a rich girl with no real flaws and a butler at the snap of her finger. And yes, of course she's also an otaku, more of one than you can imagine. Once she has it in her head that Minoa is interested in anime, the floodgates open. The fact that Minoa is standing there looking as clueless as I do in a crowd doesn't stop her. She professes a love for hero school, Re:Zero, Shikabari and time travel shonen. She dives headlong into genres slice of life like Tomokeda and Tormiko, and possibly Bakuso. Not so much slice of life show, but it is one I would kinda like. The shows continue on. I won't list them all, but it looks like they're all inspired by or based on actual series. I feel like I can very easily turn into Arisu when it comes to someone talking to me about anime. I have a strange way of remembering silly amounts of information about pointless stuff nobody actually cares about. I suppose it comes in handy for times like this at least. And should be obvious from the genre, but the girls decide to set up an anime club. Well, Arisu does. Minoa is sort of dragged along for a ride. It's going to be a silly but incredibly fun ride, and given the amount of subtle and blatant cues given in the first episode, it's going to be one for in-jokes and references. Think Genshiken, but updated for a modern anime fan. The Society for the Study of Modern Anime Memes, maybe? Or join me and welcome you to the anime world over at Crunchyroll. Well, that was a pleasing group of anime, wasn't it? I could easily have given all 4 of them green ratings, but I felt that if I'd rated 2 Karas green, I'd be letting my personal preferences cloud my judgment. But that should be an indication of many things. I'm sure a whole lot of people disagree with what I say in these previews. For all I know, Dynamic Chord is an X3. I mean, I doubt it, but stranger things have happened. Well, thank you very much for watching. Have a wonderful day. Bye bye.